It meant a lot
When
to
I
me
was
being a
young, I
girl.
was thinking
We grew up
Sunday
thinking on
best,
nights out,
and
nice shoes. As a teenager, I wore high
And
heels
you never
constantly.
snow.
I never
Smart
again.
shoes. We're all
I
just there
used
at
to wear
whatever.
high heels.
I used to wear karate pumps, as they were the only shoes in my size and in the basket at the entrance to the shop, so I didn't have to ask for them. At the end of the night, they stank. And if it was wet, they sort of leaked white stuff. So I'd leave mine on the window outside. And I used to go to bed and then put my shoes on the windowsill because I couldn't have them in the room because it stank so much.
My sister and I, we grew up thinking on nights out that we had to wear dresses and heels. Then we'd take them off and dance in our tights. I've stood on glass loads of times doing that, and I would not put them on to go home because I just didn't want to, and I was drunk. There used to be street helpers like some of the town centres. They're like people that would just give out lollipops and flip-flops.
I think I'm so aware now how ridiculous some women's footwear is. I've got corns on the sides of my feet from my school shoes, and where women's shoes were pointy, particularly my past years of work stilettos, my little toes point inwards rather than how they're supposed to be, like flat. And I know so many people that have bunions or weird feet. So many people hate their feet because of it.
When I was growing up, you had your Sunday best and your everyday shoes and your going out shoes and smart shoes for work and high heels for weddings. Trainers were just for if you did sport, but now it's more about comfort for a lot of people. I wear trainers pretty much all the time. Mine are even slip-ons.
And I just think it's so ridiculous. And the conversations we had back then, like even the fact that you can't run away on a night out, I look back and I'm like, yeah, skimpy dress and heels that I can barely walk in. The implications of that, it just wasn't safe.
You know, there would have been a time when I wouldn't have been able to wear trainers, and I don't know what I would have worn to work. I would probably have either worn like slip-on court shoes or like lace-up brogues. I remember just hating it. They felt like foot prisons.
I was the best woman at my best friend's wedding a couple of years ago, and I wore some like very small sparkly heels, literally just for the ceremony because I felt I should. And then I wore sparkly trainers for the rest of it. Game changer, because you can. Just danced all night.
So if you go on a night out, you never see men take off their shoes and walk barefoot because they're in so much pain. But you do see women take off their shoes, walk around barefoot because their shoes hurt their feet. Then we can't get our shoes back on. I've carried many shoes back from nights out, lost a few too.
I've had some interesting choices in footwear over the years, and fashion's always come first for me. So I've climbed a mountain in Ugg boots, I've squelched to school in my ballet flats, and I've been carried home by my friend because my ankles had just given up during prom. Nowadays, fashion still comes first, but I've got a bit better at planning. So no more open-toed shoes in the rain. And on the rare occasion I do wear heels, they feel really, really special.
I would wear Converse and Vans because even though they were some of the most uncomfortable shoes you could buy, they were really trendy. They looked cool and they made me feel part of the crowd. Try and blend in and be like the other students, even though they hurt like mad and gave me blisters.
When I was young, I had a ridiculous journey to school with 2 buses and a long walk, but would still wear pumps, even like in the winter, even in snow. And we were all just there at the bus stop with like blue fingers and numb feet. And then I toast my feet when I got home and got chilblains. They were really itchy and really painful.
There's nothing wrong with having shoes that look nice. And if they're comfortable, great. But if they're not comfortable, I don't see the point, because you need your feet for a very long time. People need their feet.
I think my DMs, my hearth-length DMs, make me feel powerful because they just make me feel like if I needed to, I could kick someone. And wearing a dress in DMs makes me feel powerful. I don't want to sound like a bad feminist, but I don't feel very powerful when I feel feminine. You know, I think it's like a mixture of the two.
It meant a lot to me being a girl. I would like nice shoes. As a teenager, I wore high heels constantly.
never anything comfortable. And I like them because they added a few inches to my height. And then maybe when you have children, you have to be a bit more practical. You know, a lot of carrying around and so many more outdoor activities. So I suppose then it changed to wearing more sensible shoes, but I always felt better in high heels. Just makes me feel better about myself.
I wore like a dress with it that I wouldn't usually wear. Really, it's like a little red summer dress. But I thought about what to wear with it and I wore trainers. I usually feel a bit too self-conscious if I'm too dressed up. I don't really like it. I don't want people looking at me. But wearing trainers with it makes me feel like, oh, I'm just like having a fun time in a summer dress. Yeah, it makes me feel better.
Apart from when I was a teenager or for weddings, I've pretty much always gone for comfort in my shoes. I love walking and not having to think about my feet. When I'm wearing heels, I find myself weighing up how much I really want to go to the bar or talk to someone on the other side of the room. There's really quite a price to pay for wearing uncomfortable shoes, not just in pain, but also socially. They make you much more static. When I'm wearing heels, I'm much less likely to want to move around.
Why do I wear trainers? I suppose they help me feel funky again and somehow a bit cool. I mean, denim jacket and trainers are the sort of top and tailing of I've made an effort and now I've undermined it. Feminine, but not. You thought I was a woman, but actually I've got my denim jacket and trainers on. It's funny, isn't it, that we struggle with femininity?
I think the first pair I had was literally a pair of like pointy-toed stiletto boots going to under 18s nightclubs in like miniskirts and push-up bras. Not good. My mum must have had a nightmare. The heels are supposed to make your bum look perky, right? That's the point of them. And like, who's that for? Like, we wouldn't be worrying about our unperky bums if we were just around our female friends. I think as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more angry with all that stuff.
Fishnets plus DMs was a fabulous combination for me, particularly in my late teens and 20s. A kind of combination of being feminine through fishnets, but at the same time, you know, well, quite kind of grounded. I don't know, sort of edgier, whatever it is. I'm feminine, but not weedy, something like that. Gosh, it's complicated being a woman.
At some point in the transition from being a teenager to an adult, trainers came onto my radar. Before that, it was just my flimsy ballet pumps that I used to wear to school or borrowing my big sister's heels for a night out. And then suddenly I had all this choice because trainers were cool. And I think that's the important thing really is having the choice. You can wear heels if you want to, but equally, if you want to wear trainers or big boots out, it's normal. And it's such a win that being comfortable isn't uncool anymore.
I've got my normal trainers and I've got going out trainers. They're still trainers, and to the rest of the world, they're just trainers. But in my head, they're posh trainers. So I know I've kind of upgraded myself. I feel more feminine in my going out trainers because I feel like they're sort of fancy, like I'm making an effort, but it's not over the top.
I've worn trainers pretty much every day of my entire life. I'd wear a high heel to maybe my school prom or my graduation because I feel like that was the trend at the time, and to be honest, there probably was a bit of pressure to do that as well. I think fashion conventions have sort of dripped down from so many different places like high fashion and the media and through all these cultural changes. But I feel like now, more so now than ever, it's actually just more fashionable to have the freedom to choose to wear whatever you want.
With massive thanks to Katie Penfold, Jade Kelly and Tammy Kwong, who helped with the interviews, and all the women who shared their voices.